Welcome back to the Transforming Your Mind to Transform Your Life, the podcast. You're listening to Author's Corner, where we highlight and showcase our local authors. Today, I'm speaking to Lydia Gascon Samaniego. Or I said that wrong. Author of To Hell With You.
Good.
and Lydia
Perfect.
and I Lydia and I are going to be talking on the topic how to turn our failures into freedom. Welcome, Lydia. And you can say your name properly for the listening audience.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, Mirna. Lydia Gascon Samaniego.
You
That's how you
see,
say my
that's why I couldn't do it.
name.
Yes, yes, yes. So, with a tantalizing topic of her book, like To Hell With You. So, we are going to be rocking today. So, stay tuned. Okay, so let me give you guys a brief summary of Lydia's book. A riveting account of a young woman who ventured into hell with her husband, and only one of them made it back. The other did not. Follow the author through the flames as the veil of wisdom opens, revealing forgotten tools used to navigate through heartbreak and adversity and heal the scars of life. From this incredible journey, readers will realize that it is possible to more than just escape from the throes of hell. Lydia tells a vulnerable story that can help you process the patterns of pain, find a different understanding of forgiveness, trade the trauma of failure for freedom, grasp gratitude in light of grief, learn that love is life, and much, much more. So with just that alone, you might want to just run out and buy a copy because it sounds like a novel, but obviously this is true story, right, Lydia?
Right.
I know,
Yes.
right? Yeah. It reads like one of my Harlequin romances that I used to love to read when I was growing up.
Oh, this is no romance, I'll tell you that much. More like a
Yeah,
horror story. Yeah.
first story, right? Yes. Okay, wow. All right. Well, listen, I'm curious, and I'm pretty sure with that introduction, our listeners are as well. Can you share your story of venturing into hell with your husband and how you made it back?
Well, I'll try to give you a quick summary, so not to spoil the story. But basically, we were young, my then husband and I, and we set out on a journey like most young people have in their minds. They have the question of what is life all about? Why are we here? And what's the purpose of all this, especially now? And and we did too. And we set out to find the answers to these questions of life. But what we ended up finding instead was heartache, hardship, and hell. I completely lost myself in every sense of the way. And so did my husband at the time, but he did not come back. Now, the meaning of not coming back, you're just going to have to read the story, what happened. But he did not make it back. So on our journey, we ended up having two sons. And so it was my sons and I who came back, who returned to pick up the pieces, to try to make sense of all that had happened and process this idea, what I thought was a noble idea of trying to find this idea of truth and what the hell happened, you know? And lo and behold, as I kept pushing against the pain and insisting that the answers had to be out there, because why else would I ask the question, you know? And underneath, as I processed pain, forgiveness, for failure, you know, I found underneath all of that was love shining like a thousand, a million brilliant diamonds of
Wow.
life. And through that were answers. And so my sons and I were the ones that benefited from that, finding those treasures, and have been and still are applying these truths that we've learned in our lives to get out of that trauma and not be jaded for the rest of our lives, you know, because we could have very well have been and never have recovered. It was very easy not to have. So, and that's what the book is about, of our journey, what
Mhm,
happened, how we
mhm.
got. how we pick the pieces back together and what came of it and how we have applied them to our lives in context of the story, which is the context of life.
Okay, well, that's amazing. Well, yeah, I can tell from what I read as part of your book summary that it's deep. All right, so I'm glad that you're leaving the curiosity for the story. So that's fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, keep the mystery. You know what I mean? We're here to talk about the principles. If anyone wants to hear
Right.
the story of how you made it back from hell, they go and buy the book. But
Yes.
you're here to share the stories and to make people want to go and get the book. So one of the things you say is that you learned how to trade the trauma of failure for freedom. Unpack that for us.
Yes, of course. So for many, many years, I thought that everything I did or everything I touched turned to caca, was a failure, and living in that energy was very negative because all I was doing was I was judging myself, and I was, saying that I couldn't get out of pain, I couldn't make good decisions, I couldn't do anything right, that I wasn't worthy. All of these things were I was telling myself because I kept looking as failure is bad. And then I started, like when I said earlier, pushing against the pain. I pushed against that and I just looked at failure. Okay, well, what is it then? Why did I fail? And I started asking questions like, uh, well, what happened? And is it the end of the world? Well, obviously, we all didn't make it back, but I'm still here, able to ask these questions. And then I realized that failure was nothing more than information. It was how I framed it that it became failure and negative. And so I realized, like, oh, okay, well, I didn't like the result of this. Why? Because it makes me feel this way. Okay, well, how can I reframe it so that I can feel in a way that is acceptable to me, that makes me feel good about me instead of bad? And so that's a whole mind, journey in there to process and to start looking at life differently because we're conditioned to believe that failure is bad. Oh, you don't want to fail. You just want to stay away from failure. But no, you don't want to stay away from failure. You want to keep just looking at it and saying, what do I like about this and what I don't like about it? And why don't I like it? I don't like it for these reasons. Well, that's telling you about yourself. And then the bottom line is really telling you what your heart wants. And then when you start sifting through to that, it's like, oh my gosh, that's what I really want. Well, then what can I do? What steps can I take to go to work that way? And how can I, every time I feel like I'm a failure, remember that? So it's, fighting against it. And that's how you do it because you've processed and you've gone through it. And then once I got to that point, I felt such freedom because no longer did this word of negativity that I so much associated with failure was it didn't have power over me. All it did was it released me, and
Mhm.
it was just a tool.
Yes, yes. I love that. It's really interesting that, you can learn so much from pain. A lot of people transform, I mean, pain into purpose, but pain and trauma can open doors. And what you said about failure is so, profound because if you go through life thinking that you're a failure, then it snatches away your self-esteem, it snatches away your self-worth. But if you look at failure as learning what to do, for instance, people use the fact what Edison, that he said he never failed at anything. He just learned what not to do to create his
Exactly.
light bulbs. So it's definitely a mindset shift that, yeah,
Mhm.
failure is there, you can't really succeed in life without having some failures because if you're not failing, you're not trying. But when you fail, like for instance, you fail at a marriage or something, you are, feeling that you're not worth it, that somebody doesn't love you. And that's what the one that pops in my head. When you fail at maybe dropping out of school or something, you feel that you're stupid. But then, all you have to do is reframe it. I'm glad what you say. I mean, because one of the things that I do in life and I teach is change the way you look at a thing, and the thing you look at will change. And what you just said is that you reframed the conversation with failure and you found freedom because you found a way to say that, that it taught you something. It taught you what not to do. And yeah, I love that. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I wanted a rebuttal on that.
Well, I was just gonna say, just a little bit deeper, was that it showed me what my heart wanted and kind of almost more my purpose here. And because, processing the failure as to I didn't want this, but what do I want? And then asking what do I want started saying, well, my heart started speaking. And then, oh, okay, ah. And then that feeling of, because that's what you want really
Mm-hmm.
comes in. So, yeah.
Okay. So that's good. So I'm just going to go through some of the things that put in your book summary. And one of the things you talked about is the patterns of pain. And I've actually never heard anyone talk about that. So share with us, what are the patterns of pain?
Pain, a lot of times, oftentimes, if you do not deal with it, if you do not process it, it comes back the same, maybe, and even bigger the next time. The situation is deeper, the situation is more painful, the situation involves more people, but it's the same. And so there's a pattern until we stop and look at, because really pain comes up as a contrast to love, because we are love. We are created in love. We are love. And then anything that comes, we don't realize it. And so that's why we have so much pain, because pain comes up to show you that boink, 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 that's not you. And that's why it hurts so much. But so we run from pain instead of like, okay, well, what are you trying to tell me? Pain is there because it's trying to tell you something. And it's trying to tell you to process to get to the bottom line, which the bottom line is that we're love. And where do you hear that? Not really. I mean, it's not the love what everybody says, but it's like we are created in that. So that's a different conversation. But anyway, so yeah, so pain, if you don't deal with it, you don't ask it, what are you trying to tell me? Why does it hurt so much? And you kind of have to take it apart a bit. And then it starts revealing itself to you, which really is yourself revealing yourself to you. And then it kind of dissipates, and then you learn from that, and then the next time pain comes across, you've had that experience, like, okay, now this is what I need to do. I need to ask, what are you trying to tell me? It hurts like hell though,
Mm-hmm.
but right now I'm going to ask you, but I can't process it, I can't deal with it right now, but I'm going to ask you, and then later, maybe when I can come back to you because it hurts, I can actually listen. But having gone through it one time, then the second time, even though it hurts like hell, you can still ask it and then go away and then come back to it. Because again, if the pain does not get dealt with, it's a pattern and it will happen again. And if you don't deal with it, it gets bigger, gets
Wow.
bigger.
That's interesting. And you share examples of this in your book because that's really good. Like I said, I've never heard that before. I know that if you don't deal with trauma, then it stays and festers. But if I were to, dissect what I think you're saying, so that if somebody hurts you in one relationship and you don't deal with it, then you go on to another relationship and you get hurt bigger and then I think that's where you're saying, right? We're talking about emotional pain here, not, somebody you hitting your foot.
Right,
Right.
right. Yeah. It's live trying to say, hey, listen, wake up. I have something to tell you here. This is not you. This is not right. You need to grow here. You need to grow here. And that's what it's doing. And
Mm,
so, yeah, it does get bigger. I mean, how that's been in my experience, and how I wrote it in the book, and I wrote on purpose instead of writing like 10 steps to whatever or things like that. I wrote it with the context of the story that we went through, because
mm,
if you read the story, you can see two different ways of processing life. One
mm,
leads to surviving, one leads to not.
mm.
So it's
Okay.
very, very drastic, the outcome. But if you can follow that, you can see that. that it got worse. It got worse. The pain got
Mm,
bigger. The everything. It's yeah. So
wow.
that's why I
Interesting.
say it's a self-help book, but written as a memoir. But if you don't see the self-help, that's fine. It's just a weird story and it's entertaining. So, you know, like
Wow.
holy crap, you know. But if you can,
Wow.
you can see two different thought patterns processing and what
Mm,
happens. One is done versus one versus the other.
wow. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's interesting. And I like the contrast because it proves a point, right? And so that's really good. I mean, you contrast. All right.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I like about what you said is you transformed your mind and forgive your husband. How did you do that?
Well, honestly, I had to forgive myself first.
Yeah.
And that was the most difficult part because honestly, to forgive another is a lot easier than to forgive yourself. At least that's what I found. But what
Mm,
I did was I did an experiment that I would, whenever I met someone, I would, under my breath, bless them, kind of look at them and I would kind of feel something and I'd bless their life and bless them that whatever their dreams they had, that they would have courage and to go and do it. If I met a couple,
beautiful.
I would bless them with that love that we all secretly hope that we find someday, a love that is just that goes to our bones and eternal, kind of thing. I
All
bless
right.
them, and if I saw a family, I would do that. They would have a great relationship, and they would be close, and they would be united, and it would be a beautiful family. And then sometimes I would meet somebody and I did not want to bless them. They rubbed me the wrong way and I had no interest in them. I'm like, I ain't doing that. No way. And then, sorry, but I did. And then I wouldn't bless them. I'd just go eek and like, oh, like, whatever. And then, strangely enough, what I noticed was that eek, oh, where that feeling came back to me. And
Mm,
I thought, and then when that came back to me, I became that. And then when I became that, my whole outlook of blessing people and feeling happy and whatever changed. And I'm like,
yeah.
that's interesting. So
Yeah.
then it made me realize that whatever I think in my mind, honestly, is what I project, and then it comes right back to me.
Yeah.
So heck, when the Madden Nass happened, like, oh, whoa, it made me realize how strong our thoughts are.
Oh, yeah. It's true.
People, we don't think that, oh, nobody can see my thoughts, so I'm hiding. But
Right.
eventually it shows up, and I don't know why it became very just clear to me that, doing that experiment. And so I still run into people that rub me the wrong way. But I remember, and I, as best as I can, because you have to be honest. You can't say, "Oh, I bless you," and you feel like I don't like you. You just
Hmm.
got, as much as I can, I bless you. And be honest, because your mind, your heart responds to honesty, and all this other stuff is like, don't, because you can't really see when you're not honest. And so when I realized that, and then I realized that, I mean, I just saw him in the state of love that he is, that I am, and I saw all the beautiful qualities that he was, and um then a lot of that anger of like all that stuff that happened and all that pain that was caused, it's just like easier to let go and just let it go.
Forgive him.
Because yeah, it was easy when I saw myself. It was a lot easier to see somebody else and just say, oh man, god god damn it, bless you, because that was awful, you know
Wow.
and that was painful, and can you imagine his pain? So, but I had to forgive myself first, which was so hard. And I still have the process. It's not like done. I still have to forgive myself all the time because I keep growing. And when I keep growing, I come more stuff like, you know. But it's a process. We're never done, you know.
Yeah. Well, I've had lots of conversation. I've read lots of books, and I'm learning a couple of new things from you today. So I love it. I love the way you explained how you learned to forgive your husband by what you put out. is what you get back. And and starting the process of blessing people when you meet them is a powerful thing. I mean, I heard that from, I think it's Deepak Chopra, where I'm not sure. One of the gurus, anyway, said that, you know, you should bless someone, whether bless their life or give them a compliment or say something nice to them when you meet. And I practice that most of the times, when I meet someone, I find something about them and say, what I like about them or whatever. We start out by telling each other we look beautiful today. So I mean, but actually bless their lives and hope that, they have the kind of love that goes to their bones and stuff like that. That's phenomenal. And what happens with that is that, you would get that back because that's how life is. What you put out, you get back. So the fact that you're saying that when you didn't feel like blessing someone and you say yuck or whatever, and it came right back to you and you felt that way, that is so true. So and yeah, they say that unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So when you forgive your husband, then you feel better because you let go of what's holding you, what's poisoning you. So that's
Yeah.
great.
Well, it's not, it's like easier said than done because how many of us have not gone through life and it's really hard to forgive another, really hard sometimes, especially if we've been hurt so deeply. And so it's a lot easier said than done. But really, because if you think about it though, if you're not forgiving, you're sending out that negative your hatred, anger. Um,
And it affects you
like
more than it affects them, right?
that's what you're throwing out there. That's what you're feeding, and that's what's growing, and that
Yes,
becomes you. So it's
yes.
like, heck, the sooner we realize, like, wait, okay, okay, I need to process this pain. I need to process what happened so that I
Mhm,
can release it and let it go so that I don't give it out.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
We
that's
the work.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, 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 wow. Right. Yes. Yes. I can see that your book is deep and a lot of people can learn, from that. We've already touched on pain. We've already touched on forgiveness. We've touched on failure. Those are big things. So,
Hmm.
I'm curious though, why did you call your book To Hell With You? An adventure. The full name is An Adventure Through Tragedy, Love, Betrayal, and Transformation. So tell us about your book. Why did you write it? And what do you want people to walk away with after reading?
Um, well, to answer the first one, the title is not meant to send anybody to hell. It was literal because I went to hell with you, meaning my husband and my then husband. So it was a literal thing, and it was not meant to offend anybody. But it's gotten people's attention by every stretch of the means, which is cool.
That's what a
And
title is supposed to do. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So people are totally they're really offended by it, or they're like, this is interesting. I'm gonna pick that up. So I wrote it because what we went through was so bizarre. I have never heard of anything similar, and well, I don't know. And losing some people along the way and then surviving that I got after I was able to process. And this took years, mind you, it didn't happen overnight. Um, there were such gems, and that I wanted to share the gems so that somebody wouldn't have to suffer as much as I did, so that they could come through faster, easier. And what I hope that people get from reading it is that they realize that it doesn't matter how far you fall, how deep you think your failure is, how much you have screwed up your life. There is always a way back home. So
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Hey, if there's nothing that we should do in this world is give people hope, give people
yes.
an encouragement, and maybe even show them the steps, maybe show them the way. So that is beautiful. That is beautiful, right? Yes. And we tell that with our stories. We tell that with our testimony. And that's what you're doing. So yes, and you say, you say it in such a way that it's unbelievable and entertaining and you share, some philosophies in life. So it's a great philosophy that, yes, once you're living, it can get better, right?
Yeah, you're still alive.
Yeah, once you're alive, it can get better. Yes, amazing. All right. So where can our listeners pick up a copy of your book? Tell us if you have a website. Tell us
Right.
if you're on social media, what are your handles so they can follow you?
Yes, it can be, it's on Amazon.com, it's on barnesandnoble.com, so you can get it there. I have a website, so it's lydiasamaniego.com, and there you can buy it as well. Just push the button. And I'm on Facebook and X and LinkedIn as Lydia Samaniego, and then on Instagram I'm Love Lydia. So yeah, and I do also have a YouTube channel, which is Love Lydia, but it's just starting. So yeah, yeah.
All right. Awesome. I like the Love Lydia. Yes. Yes, that's what you sign your emails on. Love Lydia. Awesome. All right. Well, I will have a summary of our conversation on the show page, which is myhelps.us. I will link out to your book on your website and tag you on Instagram when I post the marketing clip on there. So yes, and your name is, very hard to spell. So people might need to get to my website to click the link on it. I can't even
Yes,
say it. Let's just spell it. So
that's
yeah,
understandable.
the show page is much easier. Myhelps.us. Everybody can get that one and just click on the link. But yeah, go pick up a copy of Lydia's book because it looks like it has some really good life lessons, and everybody needs to know, especially the patterns of pain. I mean, that's new to me. That if you don't deal with it, it comes back bigger and bigger and bigger. And you want to know that, why is nothing working for you? Because you're not getting the lessons. I've heard that if, I mean, pain in the body. If God sends you pain in the body and you ignore it, then that gets bigger and bigger. But I wasn't aware that in life and relationships, it gets bigger and bigger too. So that was one of my takeaways from this conversation. And also the way that she learned how to forgive people. That's unique as well. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of unique things in her story and in her message. So, yes, when someone writes a book, go read it because there's lessons to be told. So, pick that up. And I appreciate our conversation, Lydia. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for teaching me a few things, and an old dog can still learn new tricks.
Oh, you're sweet. Well, thank you. It's been an honor, my honor to be here. I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes.
It's been a great conversation.
Yes, you're very welcome. Yeah, it was a great conversation, a great short conversation. This is amazing.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Author's Corner. The book today that we are showcasing is called To Hell With You. And the author is Lydia Gascon Samaniego. So I know, right? I did it right.
Yeah, you did it right.
Did
Awesome.
it right. Okay, amazing. Yeah. So go pick up a copy of your book and learn some of the secrets to success in life because it sounds really deep. So thank you, Lydia, for being on the show. Thank you guys for
You.
tuning in. And until next time, namaste.
Day. Bye.
Right.